Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about The Handmaid's Tale Season 3, Episode 13. It is the season finale, and it is called Mayday. So, full spoilers for the episode as always, and of course the whole season now, since it's all done, and we can talk about it. So, first things first, Connor was missing last week, so I think there's just one or two points that I think we have to get his opinion on before we delve into this episode. Because I was joking a lot about two things in particular. One is that it was the second episode in a row where June had killed someone, and I was like, we're on a kill streak, and would the finale present us with a third in a row for a June kill? Not to jump ahead, but it's a hat trick, baby. We got a June kill streak going, the body count's racking up.
I bet there was a point in the middle of this episode where you were like, oh, and then you're like, damn it, so close.
Yeah, no, but she was waving that gun around this episode, so I was just waiting for it.
Yeah.
Like, the chances were high she was going to kill someone again, and I was not disappointed. And then the other point, of course, is that earlier in the season we were talking about how it was kind of presenting that this was kind of her Breaking Bad season, where she was going a bit more Walter White. And last episode actually had a scene almost right out of Breaking Bad where she did the exact same thing as Walter White. So I'm just curious as to your thoughts on that particular choice, because my opinion of it last week was very much that, well, it does take me out of it a little bit that it's essentially the exact same scene from Breaking Bad. The choice itself actually makes a lot of sense in the context of the characters and what's going on.
I will say, over the course of this season, So the point of Breaking Bad is there's a point where you realize you don't really like Walt anymore, right? You're like, he's kind of shit, and different people will tell you that point comes at various times for them. I reached that point with June over this season quicker than I did with Walt.
Because the decision for me made a lot of sense, just given the context, and like her reason for it was a bit more justifiable than, I don't want to get into spoilers for Breaking Bad, but
still incredibly shitty.
Oh yeah, no, it goes back to the reason why I liked it, because it went back to the start of the season where she has to make difficult choices, and I felt like, okay, this is the culmination of that. This is her making the difficult choice, even though it's evil at face value. So I wanted to just I hated the final shot though, and I'm assuming you did too, because it felt like something you'd also hate.
I'll be honest, I don't remember what the final shot was.
The close up of her eyes at the funeral, and it was all evil.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, I did hate that.
Yeah, I knew you would. I hate it.
Yeah, sorry, I watched these two pretty much back to back, so like some of the minor bits are blurring a little. Yeah.
Well, this finale is basically, it reminded me a lot of like a Prison Break movie, because it was all just the planning and all little setups and like a lot of montages of them like getting all the packed lunches ready for the kids for the plane. And I actually, because they were like getting all the food ready and put it into little sacks, and it's at the same time June was like scraping something out of a pot, and I went, is that like mashed potato or something? What was she like? Are they going to give the kids mashed potato or thick yogurt or something? What the hell is that shit? And it turned out it was actually stuff that was for the gate so it wouldn't squeak. So
yeah, it was soap. We saw her chopping it all up.
Yes, yes. It escaped me what she was doing, because I just assumed it was more food. I'm like, what the hell is that?
Well, see, I knew it was soap, and I was like, are they going to tell me this is Fight Club rules going on here? Because that's bullshit. And then it was just to grease up the gate, and I was like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. And a lot of the episode is indeed the tension of like, okay, them actually, the Martha's bringing the girls over. Obviously, there's one that comes too early and gets cold feet and tries to leave. But it's after June's had this kind of heart to heart with a little girl as she's like, patching up her leg because her foot's all cut and swollen.
And this is where she's flapping the gun around quite a bit.
Yeah. And she almost ends up accidentally shoots the kid, because she's so high strung that when the kid says something behind her, she just swings it around, and it's this kind of horrifying moment for her. I think. Well, did you like the finale? Did you like the episode overall, or?
I think I liked parts of it. I didn't love it, that's for sure.
I think there was a bit in the middle, and it was around this gun waving about sort of section that it kind of lost me for a while. But I really liked the start of it, all them getting ready, and then I really liked the actual, the actual journey to the plane and the landing in Canada, especially. I thought was pretty.
The landing, I'll give you. I think my problem with the journey to the plane is I never really felt any of the tension.
Sure.
There was a bit like where the cars are up on the road just above them, and the lights are swooping over, and I never believed for a second they were about to be caught. I didn't feel that tension. So it lost a lot of the weight that it should have had.
Yeah, the funny thing is though is that like I actually kind of agree. There's not a lot of tension until they get towards the air because if they're going to get caught and like things are going to go badly, it's going to be kind of near the end of the journey.
It is, but I feel like we spend quite a lot of time walking through the woods, and we have that scene where the cars are going past with the lights. Where I feel like I have to feel it there as well if we're going to spend time doing that.
I mean, that one scene, sure, but I think for most of it, though, the actual journey was more about the emotion of finally going through with this. Like, it was that kind of build-up and release of, like, oh, we're finally doing this now. Because the music that was playing for a lot of this was actually quite optimistic and quite, what's the word I'm looking for? It felt like a release. It felt like, okay, there's hope after all this dark time that we're finally pulling something off.
Sure.
It wasn't going for tension for a lot of it, actually. It wasn't until, that bit you were talking about the cars, and you knew they weren't going to get caught here. It'd be too silly to do it here. Like it was going to be if this was going to fail, it was going to fail at near the end.
Oh yeah.
Which I never actually did think it was going to, because the intention, and I said this like a couple of episodes ago, because the intention was never for June to escape as well. I knew it was going to succeed because we can save everyone else, we just can't save June because the show still has to keep going.
Pretty much.
Of course, Rita gets out. Rita is the one who's tasked with actually escorting the kids because everyone else goes to help June distract the guards because otherwise they're going to get caught. And good thing too, because June with her one rock was not going to hold them off.
I mean, I did question at this point when she's sitting there going, right, okay, there's a guard over in that car spinning the light. Is this not an ideal time to pull out that gun you've got strapped to your leg?
Well, I think it's because they're right next to the base and the sound would probably travel to any other guards. They'd hear gunshots. And I think the whole idea is when she eventually uses the gun, it's actually quite a bit further away. At this point, she's run into the woods quite a bit.
I mean, sure. I guess the thing for me was it was supposed to be a distraction, right? And as far as she was concerned, it was kind of a suicide mission anyway. She wasn't really expecting to survive. So at that point, just use the gun.
Yeah. It's entirely possible she was maybe about to think about doing that because she was hesitating. She was sort of like holding the rock and like sort of thinking about what to do, and then the others all show up.
It is possible. Yeah.
And then all the others show up, so then they all throw rocks, and it's relatively effective. Obviously, like a few Marthas do go down. I think what's interesting about this is that what I'm really looking forward to about this whole Great Escape, which ended up being more than 52 kids, is what the fallout is in Gilead. Like what is the situation like? What is the mood like? And because presumably all these Marthas who helped take the kids away, surely they're all implicated immediately. I mean, June's kind of separate from the rest of them in that she's not directly responsible for any of those kids, but all these wives got roofied and their kids were taken by Marthas. Like all these Marthas surely are just instantly on the chopping block,
which presumably was why they were supposed to go with them on the plane.
Yes, but they made the choice not to because it would increase the chances. Like one person causing a distraction versus all of them, they were playing the odds essentially. And that's fine. I tell you what scene I did like a lot. I like that when because June and a couple of them go out to like mark the way, and they come back and the lights out and they're worried that something bad's happened, and it's just that all the kids have arrived and Lawrence is reading them a story.
Yeah,
I actually quite like that scene. That was because he doesn't even go. Like, because obviously we were speculating, does he still go? Given now that his wife is dead, or I was speculating. You weren't here last week, and he's like, he essentially because she says, "Oh, like she'd want you to go," and he's like, "I think she'd want me to clean up my own mess." And it's the idea that he can do better. He can do more good inside the system, trying to help people escape and more things like this. If not outright, actually change some of the rules if he can. Along the way, than he ever will if he's outside.
Yeah, definitely.
In a way, he's almost like the better version of Serena in that he's accepted his culpability and what's happened and how awful it is, but instead of running to have some semblance of freedom, he's going to stay and try and fix it and do something about it. And so, of course, Serena's whole freedom, which she's almost got, she's about to get access to leave the facility and go around the city.
Yeah.
And then Fred got a little bit petty and...
Just a touch.
Yeah, because obviously because you weren't here last week, but we were right in saying that she did make a deal to get visits with the kid and all the rest of it. And Fred says, "Hey, she's done some stuff that wasn't Gilead, forced. It was just her. Do you want to hear about it?" Basically, knowing exactly what he's doing. As Connor sneezes and mutes his mic so that he's not sneezing into the mic. Yes.
Sorry, that's me. Sorry, what were you saying? I was too busy sneezing to listen.
I was just saying Fred was knowing exactly what he was doing and being petty.
Yeah, is this the first full outright confirmation that he knew exactly what had happened?
I think so. I mean, there was a lot of glances. There was a lot of things throughout the last season and a half.
They've been okay, he suspects, maybe he knows, but how much does he know exactly? This fella, no, he knows all the details.
Yeah. I have to admit, I mean, obviously Fred's awful, and I don't really care about him getting his way. I have to admit there is a little bit of satisfaction in Serena not getting freedom, because there's a point in this episode where she's sipping her coffee and reading her book, and I'm like, you don't deserve this. you ruined everyone else's lives, and they're still in this misery, and you get to be free while they're all still in Gilead.
I agree. It's a little dissatisfying with this being the reason, I think.
Sure.
Going, she forced the driver and June to have sex. Well, I mean, not really.
Well, yes, really.
Well, yes, but as she says, they had an actual relationship.
Not before that, they didn't really.
I'm sure they did.
No, because that was the first time they had sex, right? That wasn't like
the first time they had sex.
I'm sure it was.
It's been a while.
Yeah, the relationship I'm sure really blossomed out. I mean, I think there was some chemistry maybe, but I feel. People would correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I'm misremembering because I've not seen season 1 since season 1.
Yeah, exactly. See, in my head, they had a relationship already to something, which is why Serena was like, "Okay, no, we're doing this." She kind of capitalized on that, but maybe I'm misremembering it.
I think there was something, but I'm pretty sure that was the first time they.
Fair enough.
I think so. People can correct me if I'm wrong though. But the reason why I think this works though is it's not so much that it's the reason she should be punished versus everything else she's done, but there is a great character beat here that Fred, for all his "I love my wife" and for everything that he's ever said, he will use anything he's got to be petty and to make sure she can't be happy, so that she's as miserable as he is.
Because he's a dick.
So from a character perspective, I think it's very satisfying because it makes complete sense that he would do this. And gets them both locked up potentially forever. I don't know. I'm really curious to see what the plot in Canada will be in season 4 with them as they're being interviewed and stuff. And now that we have Rita in Canada as well, I thought the moment where Rita meets Luke was particularly touching, especially Luke. Because Luke's just helping, because there's a great moment where Moira gets on the plane, because clearly they expect people to be sneaking out, so they always check the planes, right? And Moira goes up, not knowing what she's going to see, and just sees this sea of children, and gets kind of emotional, and she's getting them off the plane, and Luke's just helping, and it's the moment where the little girl, the one that June had the heart-to-heart with, sees her father, and they have this embrace, and it's this moment where Luke realizes wait, Hannah could be on this plane, and it's actually kind of a painful scene to watch him everyone coming off the plane, and none of them being Hannah, and him being kind of. But it's a sweet moment afterwards where Emily recognizes Rita, and then introduces Luke, and she's like, "You're Luke." She's heard so much about Luke over the course of the last. And exactly. I actually almost started laughing here because
Luke's like, "Who the hell are you?"
I almost started laughing because I'm like, every character in this show will get to meet Luke again before June does. Every single one. Fred's met him, Serena's met him, Rita's now met him. Obviously, Emily's already met him. Everyone's meeting Luke except June. Oh, it's pretty funny. But no, and she lets him know June did this. Although I imagine they won't want to keep that super public, just because if Gilead catches wind that June's behind the great escape of.
She's probably screwed.
Yes, I mean she's already been shot. I mean she gets shot from the Guardian and uses it. She plays coy. She plays dead for a second so she can shoot him.
Yeah. I'm feeling the plot armor. Not gonna lie.
That's fair.
Because she did take a gunshot and was then lying there, presumably overnight. Seemed to be overnight.
Oh, when they eventually pick her up afterwards, yeah, sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure she'll be fine.
She probably will be fine. It's one of those things where, like, they could choose not to put her in situations like this so that we're not saying she's got plot armor.
I think it bothers me more after she went in on a what was a suicide mission, right?
Sure.
And then all the people come in, all the other Marthas and stuff come to support, so it's not a suicide mission anymore. She's not on her own. And then 20 seconds later, she's shot anyway. That's a little frustrating.
Do you know what I was really relieved about, actually? I really thought, and I was going to hate this if they did it, I really thought the guard that was chasing her was going to turn out to be the guard from the flashback in the opening scene that she tried to talk to.
You know what?
I had this
feeling. Thought it was. I had a similar thought.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was going to be him, or I thought somehow it's Nick.
Okay. Yeah, we've not seen Nick in a while. Nick's off at the front lines. We've not seen him since.
No, he is. But I was like, for all we know, he's back, and we just haven't seen him. And this would be the moment where, okay.
I would have hated that too, admittedly, but I really thought, oh wait, the reason for that is because I mean the scene at the start was fine. It wasn't bad. I just felt like we've done these sort of scenes before.
It felt really like irrelevant for most of the episode. I think the whole point is just it's entering Gilead and exiting Gilead. It's supposed to be, but I mean, it felt a little tacked on as opposed to a lot of the other flashbacks we've had.
Yeah, I actually thought Janine was going to get out as well. I thought that'd be interesting to have Janine in Canada with the others, because I feel like at this point we've got such a cast in Canada that we can follow, like as a little group. You know, so but all the stuff with the plane landing I really liked, and then being in Canada, it made me miss all those characters a little bit as well, because we've not had as much of them recently.
Well, like I said, they disappeared about halfway through the season.
Yeah, I did very much enjoy Luke punching Fred last episode, though. That was enjoyable.
Yeah, that was.
And Moira giving Serena what for. All good stuff. So yeah, we've kind of bouncing around the order of the actual escape, because it's just funny because so much of it does kind of, because there's a scene where Lawrence wants to call it off because they know that there's one girl missing and it's going to increase security. And June's like,
it's why they end up going through the woods at all, because they put up all the other roadblocks. Yeah,
and June kind of just says to him, like, no, this is happening. And it made me kind of question June's motivations almost a little bit here, where, don't get me wrong, I think, she does want to help all the kids that she's helping.
But it feels kind of like she's doing this
more for herself. Yeah, than it is about the kids themselves. And I think it's actually about both. I think there's, I don't think it's selfish. I don't think it's completely selfish in any way, because she's still helping a lot of kids.
It's hard to say it's selfish when it's such a noble act, even though it does feel like it's not driven out of a need to help them. It's a need for her to be doing something. Yeah,
to feel like she's helped, as opposed to it has that murkiness to it. It's an interesting finale. I feel like it's a quicker one to talk about, because so much of it is very straightforward, and
it is
about the escape. So. But I mostly enjoyed all that stuff. I think that made it kind of exciting. It did feel like, we've been building to this all season, or at least half the season. And sure, the season suffered because that middle chunk was a bit rough. And the Lydia F flashback episode in particular was a real low point, I think, for the show.
Yeah, and also I think on top of that, even though, it definitely got better after that middle chunk, I really felt the lack of Canada.
Yeah.
For what must be at least half the season.
Yeah, no, I agree, because we saw Emily in this, because obviously we saw Moira and Luke last episode, so I hadn't been too long since I'd seen them, but when I saw Emily this episode, I was like, oh yeah, Emily, you've not been here since episode 6 or something like that. It's been a while.
And even last episode with Luke and Moira, there was still a significant time, between since we'd left seeing them, so.
And I think their side of the story is actually almost as interesting. Maybe partly because we spent so much time in Gilead. I just want to see more of the world now.
I feel like June is one of the least interesting characters on the show for me at this stage. With everyone else,
it makes me really curious about season 4, because, like I said, the fallout of this and what the world is like in Gilead post this, that 50+ kids have escaped. And they're going to be looking for culprits, and what is their reaction to it? And You know, and yeah, I do want to see. I want to see Luke with Rita and Moira and Emily as a team in Canada doing whatever they're doing. You know, does Rita go and see the Waterfords? Like, does she go and see them and be like, "Hey, I'm free now, bitches"? Like, and I don't know, rub it in their faces.
That's quite petty. I don't think Rita's that petty.
I think she has a right to be petty in this case.
No. I think the whole "hey, I'm free now" is a bit. I don't know. She's better than that.
I don't want her to be better. I want her to rub it in, especially Waterford. I want to rub it in Waterford's face. Just go to Fred and be like, "Hey, I'm going to make your sandwiches no more." Then slap him.
Okay, that sounds satisfying.
Actually, another thing I was worried about, which luckily they didn't go down this path, but I really thought they were starting to really hint at a romance between Serena and like the American dude. And luckily it never really went. It was at one point she stepped in really close to him to say that what was it she said? It was about I didn't give up my rights. I exchanged them for my baby. But she got really close, and it was like, you know, kissing distance. And I'm like, are they like trying to set up like sexual tension here?
There's it's a bad sign, you know, and it's probably a symptom of that rough patch of the season. That it's lost some of our trust in that we're actually concerned about these things happening. You know, that's 2 or 3 things this episode now. Where
but to be fair, none of those things did happen.
No, it never did them. But it's established that seed of doubt in the quality that, oh, maybe they'll do that. That it's going to have to work to get back now.
Yeah. I'm really intrigued by what season 4 is going to be and what the situation in Gilead is. Because obviously we still have Lydia. Janine's still there with June, because it's her and the other handmaids who come and find her and carry her off. Very, very biblical imagery as they're carrying her off at the end. As, you know, so really intrigued as to what exactly is going to be going on in Gilead in season 4, and because Lawrence is still around, even though it felt like June and him had a goodbye, it does kind of feel like we could still see a lot of him next season potentially, or we might see none of him.
Yeah, I'm more inclined to think none, because even before all this was going down, they were going to move June to a different house anyway.
Yeah. I would expect to see none of them except maybe 1 or 2 big appearances towards the end of the season. Like, he's been doing things like off camera to like help things or whatever.
That's possible, yeah.
Yeah, and then we'll see like a big, because even in this, the idea that he arranges a big meeting with all the commanders so that the security will all be kind of focused away from the suburbs.
Yeah,
it needs a neat little touch like that. I could see them playing with that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's useful having the inside man.
Yes. So no, yeah, I think the season has had some major peaks. It's had some major dips, and I think it's definitely the weakest season. Just because,
without question, yeah.
You know, it falls there kind of automatically. Unfortunately, even though there has been some really great episodes and there has been some really great moments and ideas, but even the great episodes, there's still a couple of nitpicks here or there, which doesn't make it a bad show. It's still a very good show, but it does.
It never had any of the flawless episodes that the first 2 seasons had.
Yeah, especially the first season.
Especially the first season. Yeah.
The first season was an immaculate season of TV. I was saying this last week actually on the solo review that Breaking Bad's one of the best TV shows ever made, and Handmaid's Tale after season 1 felt like it could actually be in that territory. You know, if it kept it up, and we're at the point now where it's definitely not. It's definitely dipped enough that even if it goes back to being amazing again for another couple of seasons, it's going to always
be a very good TV show.
Yes,
but not in that upper tier of this is the greatest of all time potential.
Which is what Breaking Bad and even Better Call Saul, honestly, at this point is
it would have to tank pretty hard in the last season or whatever it is that we got left for it to not be.
Yeah, and I'm feeling pretty confident.
They've given us no reason to doubt. Unlike, this, we've got reason to doubt things here now. We've seen some bad episodes. We have not seen bad episodes in shows like that.
We had one bad scene of Better Call Saul in 4 seasons. One bad scene.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it wasn't even the worst scene ever, but it was just notably weak compared to everything else.
In that show, it was terrible.
Yes, in that show, it felt like we went.
Most shows, about okay.
Yeah, it's business as usual. But in that show, it felt like we went to a 1 out of 10 all of a sudden, just for one scene, because it just the standard's so high.
Yeah.
But yeah, no.
Can you tell we're excited to get more of that?
Oh, we are. I'm really excited. It's early next year, right? They said it wasn't coming this year.
Yeah.
Yes. Whereas Handmaid's Tale, presumably it'll probably slip a little bit next year again, like it did this year. So it'll maybe start in July or August instead of June, like it did this year.
Yeah, I think it was very consistent for the first 2 years. So maybe they'll be, maybe it won't slip as much as we think.
I'll guess August. I'll guess August for next year for season 4. But
that's quite a slippage, given that that's where it's finishing this year.
Yeah, but it's like this year slipped from April to June, so if anything, if I went with the same gap, I'd be saying September. Why do you look so confused?
I'm just working it out. April, May, June, July, August. It's the same gap.
Okay, fair enough. I was one off.
Sorry, that's why I was confused. I was like, am I missing a month somewhere?
Why'd you have to obsess over these things? It's fine, we'll move on.
It was going to really bother me, because months are my weaker point, and I thought I was missing one.
Oh, dear. Yeah, so I think season 3 is a frustrating season, because for everything I liked, there was probably something else I disliked. Most of the dislike stuff is concentrated in the middle, bizarrely.
Yeah, and like the whole trip to Washington feels so separate.
The entire first half, well, not the first half, but after the first 2 or 3 episodes, which was all about being with Lawrence, that it turned into, oh no, now it's about Nicole and the Waterfords. As soon as that took over, it felt like a different plot entirely. And then once that was over and we're back to Lawrence, it felt like we were back to what the season was supposed to be. So it legitimately felt like it tangented for 3 or 4 episodes, where it felt like, no, we're doing this other thing now, and then we'll come back to what the season is.
Yeah, and it was bad. We felt it even as we were watching it, but looking back, it's really clear that it is just this complete tangent of borderline filler.
Yeah, you could cut. I mean, there was some stuff. I like seeing the harsher part of Washington. Like, seeing that was interesting, but the actual plot about Nicole was tedious. And we had the statue, the angel statue, and all that bollocks.
Yeah.
So the directions has been a bit more on the nose and silly at times this season. I mean, it's still been very good a lot of the time, but there's definitely been big examples this season of the imagery or the symbolism being a bit too in your face. And
I don't think it was ever as masterful as it was in previous seasons.
That's fair. So that sticks out as an issue for season 3. Now, if season 4 comes and it ends up being a similar quality overall to season 3, it's not going to be that big a deal. Like, I'd prefer if it wasn't as concentrated in the middle. Like, one big section was the weak part. But
you'd rather have 2 or 3 episodes sprinkled in that are not as good.
Yeah, so episodes 3, 7, and 10, if those all suck, but the rest are good, then that's better than having just all the middle section together sucking.
Yeah.
But, obviously we hope it'll maybe find some of its foot in the back again.
It's weird that if it is the exact same quality as this season, it'll hurt less, because it won't feel like a step down. Whereas this season feels like a step down. Whereas if we just get the same again, about okay, it's more of the same. It's mostly pretty good.
Yeah, and we'll still have a lot of great things to talk about. But obviously there's a hope that it'll maybe find its mojo again a little bit and be back to what it was. And I think the way to do that is to really shake things up. I do think we need to see more of Canada and those characters, because we like a lot of those characters, but we've been ignoring them for a lot of the season. And I think you could have happily cut out 3 or 4 episodes of this season, and it would have been a much stronger season for it. I think you could just go straight to the idea of Serena wanting to use the phone, the satellite phone, and just go straight to that and skip all the TV broadcast bollocks beforehand.
Yeah, pretty much.
You could have just done that, and that would have worked, and that would have cut out 3 or 4 episodes right there. So, yep. So yeah, rougher season, but a lot of good stuff still in there. And hopefully season 4 can bring us back to maybe what it was before. But even if it doesn't, it's still a pretty reasonable, acceptable level of quality overall. Just very uneven.
It's definitely not bad TV.
No, it's not. It's this episode, last episode, the last 4 episodes really have all been solid TV with a few nitpicks.
Yeah, they've not been perfect, but they've been pretty damn good.
So yeah, so let us know what you think of the season in the comments below. Like and subscribe, all the usual things. Guys on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. You can support us, of course, over at patreon.com/mailfuzztv for as little as $1 per month, and it keeps all the reviews coming and all that sort of stuff. So go and check it out. You can, of course, check out all the TV we're doing if you're on the audio podcast feed, which is our Almost Cancelled TV reviews feed. Of course, we just finished doing The Boys season 1, and we will. What have we got coming up on that feed? Actually, is there anything on the horizon? I don't. The Deuce will be coming soon. That's coming early September. So
yeah.
Final season of that's coming. So that'll be one of the things that's on that feed. Of course, if you want to check out our Netflix reviews, we have a separate audio feed for Netflix original reviews, and that does have. We're about to start Mindhunter season 2. I'm also doing solo reviews of Glow season 3 right now. So that stuff is
very excited for Mindhunter. But I mean, by the time you're watching this, you might have already watched some Mindhunter. But excited.
Yeah. Looking forward to it. So yeah, so you can check out that. Otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?